In today's video, I'm joined by David from Military to Millionaire, and we're going to talk about our thoughts on the real estate market and why in 2021 you have to be going direct to seller to find your own deals off market. We're going to talk about getting over the fear, kind of setting up the systems and everything, but more importantly, we're going to talk about how he turned 5,500 bucks into over 45,000 working just a few hours a week. Let's dive right in. Today, I am joined by David. David is known online as From Military to Millionaire. We've done a video with him in the past that I'll be sure to link to above if you kind of just want to get to know him and what he does a little bit more. But in today's video, we want to talk about kind of the current real estate market. David's a buy and hold investor. I believe you do some fix and flip kind of stuff as well.
Dabble.
All right, dabble. You've also like house hacked a rental property.
I've done two house hacks, a duplex and a rental where I got the landlord to agree to me subletting rooms. Yeah.
Awesome. So pretty well versed in kind of like real estate strategies, real estate market. And similar to me, I think you kind of had the realization that the market's too hot to just be relying on deals on the MLS or from other wholesalers. So we were talking before you hopped on, and on like 2,700 pieces of mail so far, you've pulled 3 deals. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Why don't you just kind of like walk our viewers through? Because I think a lot of investors in particular view marketing almost like gambling, or like they're spending money that they're not going to get back. And I mean, if you go into it with like no strategy and just kind of like, throw some postcards at the wall and hope something will stick, maybe. But I've always looked at it more like a buy and hold investor of what is my return on that cash out. So if you could just kind of walk people through, I'm sure you had the same fears I had of like, what if this doesn't work? But what cash out looked like, what deal flow cash in looked like, kind of just walk our viewers through why they should be trying to find their own deals.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've been investing for 5 or 6 years now, right? And I traditionally buy and hold. And I kind of always was like the guy who like turned the funnel on when I was ready to buy the next property and then turned the funnel back off. And sometimes that was direct mail, but it was like 100 letters, 200 letters. I did actually land. I have a 10 unit, which is probably my favorite deal. And I actually landed that through direct mail back in 2017. And somehow that wasn't good enough for me to keep marketing to direct mail. So I turned the funnel back off and was like, cool, I got this awesome deal. And then my goal was, when I decided I was exiting the military, like, okay, when I get to within a year mark, I'm going to really focus in on building systems and going like all in to kind of go vertical on the real estate side in my market. Cause it's kind of weird it always felt like it would be kind of weird for me to go and scale while not there. And the problem is that I'm not a systems guy. I'm a train wreck. I'm like punch my way through the forest, leave wreckage behind me and hope someone cleans it up. Let's accomplish whatever. And so I was going to try to figure out my own systems. And then we were talking, you were like, dude, why don't you just plug into what I've got? Here's what I do. And I was like, wow, that sounds great. Like, especially, and the call porter piece, right? Like, I work somewhere without a cell phone for a vast majority of the day. I work in a secret clearance vault, which sounds way cooler than it is.
That does sound way cooler than they are.
I don't. Yeah. I mean, I don't have a cell phone. There's no windows in the building. I don't have a cell phone except for like a lunch break from 7:30 to 4:30 or 5 or 6 or whenever I get off work. So there's no way for me to fundamentally receive phone calls from sellers when they get my marketing. So using call porter was like the piece that just made everything wonderful for me. So anyway, decide, okay, yeah, let's plug into Ryan's systems. Ryan does very well. I am not a systems guy. It makes way more sense for me to just plug into somebody's system completely and own everything they do. And then just all I have to do is be consistent, which I can do, and things will work. So I sent out the first batch of mailers, I don't know, probably 2,700 mailers to Springfield absentee owners with, I think it was like 70% equity, not a super niche list, right? And I got, I don't know, probably 45 to 60 leads in RE Simply out of that. Maybe, I mean, there are leads in there that I'm sure will sell if I can ever just get myself back on the phone with them, which I'm not doing nearly as good as I need to. So I'm actually looking at hiring a
That's half the
acquisition
battle.
or
That like,
deposition guy.
I feel like the marketing piece is sexy. The like leads coming on in piece is fun, but then it's that like I've called them 12 times and they haven't answered. Do I really want to call them a 13th time?
Yeah, yeah. Or I'm like, because I'm working in a vault, which somehow, some way I can sometimes access RE Simply from, not consistently, but I'll be like sending text messages from RE Simply like, hey, when's a good time for me to call you? And then they'll call right then. And I'm like, well, I didn't get to answer that phone call. So let me try you back again later. uh, but it's, it's whatever. So anyway, so off those 26, 27 earned, right? I've got one under contract for 50,000, which honestly, if I wanted to just hold it, I could probably rent it as is, and it would rent for 650, 700. It'd be a good little base hit rental. But what I'm looking at doing with that one is it needs about 15 to 20 into it to be a full flip, and I can list it for 105, 115. So I'm, decent little base hit flips. I got my contractor looking at that one on Tuesday. I'll probably just buy that one and flip it. And then I got one under contract for 13,000 that I close on Monday. And I'm just going to close it. And literally I got a guy who told me Monday afternoon he'll sign the contract for 30. And then I got a deal I closed on for 28, and I'm under contract to sell it for 45. So
what was your like, because there's, I mean, obviously some profit there, but
yeah,
what was the like cash out versus cash back in? So do you know?
all in, I was probably at about 5,500 out,
Okay.
between 3 months of call porter and one set of mailers, and then the system's prop stream and everything else, probably right around $5,500. Cash in from those will net after commissions on the two that I'm listing, and assuming I make what I think I will on the flip, I'll probably net 45, maybe 50,000. So pretty substantial,
I mean, yeah, a mild ROI, right?
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, right, the one that I got for 28, it had a tenant in it that's been in there for 23 years. They're
Wow.
awesome. They already told me they'd go up to 600 a month. And so I could have bought this thing for 28,000 and had it renting for 600 and not done a thing to it. I'm just currently in a point where my goal for the next 6 months is to pay off every bit of debt that I have, because I'm exiting my job. I don't want any expenses. So I'm going to pay off every bit of debt other than mortgages.
I was going to say, other than real estate, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I've got some not great debt, right? But it was debt that I used for things that have done very well. I just, instead of paying said debt back down, I have continued to roll it into next projects. So, not the best way.
Dude,
but
I love that though, because I think there's, particularly on YouTube or podcasts, you've got a lot of these investors who are like, I've never in my life made a bad financial decision or taken out a car loan, or like you're still a real person,
I've made all of the bad decisions.
I've shared before. I mean, when I was dead broke, I'm talking like broke. I went out and bought a $37,000 Range Rover at 6% interest over like 84 months. Cause I was like, maybe if I have the car that looks successful, then like I'll do more deals. And the sad thing about even admitting this, my mortgage at the time was $550 because I kind of lived in the hood and had an FHA mortgage. My car payment was $660, not counting insurance, right? So like, I've made some dumb decisions in the past as well. I did a post recently, like I funded my startup into real estate with credit cards. So, I think that's helpful for anybody that's listening to this. Like, you're doing deals, you've house hacked, you've got some rentals, you've done some very smart things. I mean, shoot, even a 10 unit, right? Multifamily investing, but that doesn't mean you're perfect or always happen.
Yeah, no, I took out a $40,000 personal loan to flip a house, and then my contractor basically went out of business, took all my money. And when he did, I only got like 30,000 back of the personal loan. And I was like, okay, well, I can pay most of this off, and then in like 3 months I can pay it off. And then a duplex popped up that looked good, so I was like, yeah, I'll pay it off later, and just bought the duplex. Which in the long run will be the right decision, but for now it's like, I should probably pay this off before my wife gets mad. So yeah, I'm at a spot where my goal for the next 6 months is pay off all that debt and build up $100,000 in operating capital so that when I exit, and I have no intention of ever working a W-2 again, I have a runway just to make sure that, if there are any speed bumps, I'm covered. But two of these three properties I would have held long term as rentals. They were solid. The $28,000 one, if they did leave, the tenants probably needs about 25 to $30,000 worth of work to update it, make it. I mean, if you wanted it to get HGTV, maybe $40,000 worth of work, but the ARV on it's 122. So I mean, it's a
Wow,
pretty solid
that's a
deal.
screaming deal.
Yeah, it's just I was like, I'll take the 17,000, right now to just reach my current goals and just move on. So
I'm
I
sure
really
you've seen like in your market that deal you got for what was it 22, 23,000 on the MLS wouldn't have sold for 22 or 23,000 as is, right? I mean, it probably would have gone for what, 50, 60.
I listed it and got 45 in 24 hours.
So,
Yeah.
I think that's
as is.
It's, I think for some people, right. So like I've been looking for deals here in Pensacola and on the MLS, I'm not having much luck. The stuff that's getting listed that is like fix and flipper or like needs some value add stuff is like the realtors have totally ignored the fact that it needs work and just listed it for what comps are. And that's just what the seller thinks they're going to get. And the stuff that's priced well, I'm not trying to hop into a bidding war with 30 other people and have like the eBay emotional, overpaying aspect. So, even if you're able to find deals, like, I mean, that deal you mentioned, 45,000 bucks, 600 a month in rent. I know a lot of investors that listen to this, are like, where are you buying houses for 45 grand? But they're also like, that sounds like a pretty good return, but wouldn't you rather have 600 a month in rent for $23,000 than paying almost twice that? So I think it's kind of just where the real estate market's at right now. It's pretty difficult to find stuff on market, particularly stuff that's in like good shape. Whereas in my last video, I'll link to above, we kind of talk about these like vinyl village deals. We've got one that we're getting back that we're getting it for like 160,000, not doing anything to it, turning around and listing it on the MLS for 230. So if I'm a buy and hold investor or a flipper, like you're not going to find that deal on the MLS for what I paid.
No, absolutely not.
So you mentioned you've done this thing a lot of investors I know do, of like you've turned the marketing on and then you've turned it back off. I would like to talk about why. Is it like just a laziness thing? Is it like I don't want to do the work? Or is it like well, I got what I was looking for thing? And then B, I'm curious if you've done that again, or if you're still going direct to seller looking for your own deals.
For me, the reason was that I had no money. And so rather than cranking the marketing on and deciding I was going to take every deal I got to, wholesale and wholetail, I had in my head convinced myself that that was an extremely active, difficult thing to do. And I mean, for the last few years, I've been pretty busy building a business, being in the Marine Corps. I mean, I've got all the right excuses, right? Like I'm a busy person, blah, blah, blah. But the reason was that, I mean, ultimately it was kind of, I guess, that I was just scared of not knowing what to do if I did get all these deals because I didn't have any money for them. And so I was like, all right, well, I'll just wait till I have money saved back up for the next deal. And then now where I'm at is like, wow, you were a freaking idiot. Because I've got the system now where I've got, so it's amazing how things work. I posted on Facebook 3-4 months ago and I was like, hey, if you want to learn about real estate, I'm looking for somebody to help me out. I just need somebody to essentially like go meet with sellers and take a look through the house, take some pictures for me. I'll teach you everything I know, but I'm physically not there. And I've got more sellers that I need to meet with now. And one of my real estate agents hits me up and goes, dude, I got you. Like, just anytime you got someone, loop me into a text. And I'm like, okay. And he literally will, oh my God, this is a godsend. If you can find this in your market. And I think you can, if you just talk to your agent, they would probably be willing to do it for you. But he flips houses and he owns self-storage. So he's like, dude, I'll go to the house for you. I'll take all the pictures. When I leave the house, I will send you a text with pictures. I'll tell you what I would pay you for it cash today. I'll tell you how much it would take you to completely flip it and what your ARV is. He's like, I'll bid the renovation and tell you the ARV, and I'll tell you what I can wholesale it for you to today. So basically, I get 3 numbers back, and I know, okay, I can just flip it to him for this. I can wholesale it for this, or I can. I mean, he's literally taken like the part that I was worried about completely out of my hands, and all I would have had to do like a year ago has been like, hey, dude, you want to do this for me?
Can you help me? Right?
Yeah, and so here I am thinking like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do with it, and like I haven't changed anything on that end other than he goes to the properties, and out of that, so I mentioned the the 3 deals, but he landed one. He bought one in December that I had found and just didn't work for me, and he decided to buy it himself and then gave me a small referral. And he's had 3 listing appointments from that. I don't know if any of them have closed yet, but so that's our kind of our deal is like, if I'm not going to buy it, dude, you can list it. If you want to cut me a referral, cool. But if not, like I'm happy giving you the business because you're helping me out. And so my agent's making money off it. They love it. And so, yeah, but that was kind of it. It was just, I was scared. I didn't know what to do. And now I don't have the money to buy all these things right now. I mean, you should see did you happen to see my Instagram post of my super official promissory note?
No, I saw the one where you ate the raw egg in a bra, which I'm actually totally going to have my videographer throw up on screen for anybody. It's just like a reward for watching the video. But
that one hasn't gained as much traction yet as it will. I'm hoping. I saw her video went viral, and so I told my roommate like, I can eat this egg with the shell and everything, and then my roommate's like, yeah, but you're not in a bra, and I was like, oh, bet.
Oh, I'll put one on. I showed it to my wife, and she was like, "Why would he do that?"
I haven't shown it to mine yet. It was her bra.
Yeah, my wife will just randomly see like some of the videos there's like some of the reels I'll throw up, because we'll throw up ones where we're like being goofy or whatever, and she'll be like, "Were you in the pool in your clothes?" There was one that we did where I like came up out of the pool and like ripped the buttons off of a shirt I had, but I was modest and I was like, I don't want my nipples to show. So if you can like crop before that. So my videographer's first take, he had my name written out in like Pornhub style font and had this like, oh yeah, like thing to, and I was like, I think this might be too much.
That's awesome.
But
oh my god,
cool. So that's what were you saying about the promissory note?
Oh, it was. I mean, it's basically a total joke is what it is. If anyone who saw the promissory note that I posted, it's like, I might pay you back, but the note's not tied to the house. It's tied to my soul because the house is not worth as much as my reputation anyway. Like, it's just kind of a joke between me and my roommate. But I couldn't buy one of the 3 deals, and my roommate lent me the money, and I was like, I'll just give you 10% flat. And so like the reality is that all of my like reasons for not continuing to invest have proven. I mean, I've got a guy who just texted me this morning asking if I'm going to flip the house because he's got the money for me to do the flip. So I've been able to find private money so far, and I've had more people offer on that now that I've been kind of mentioning it. And then I've been able to just list these things, or, and that's in part because of how hot the market is, but
might as well capitalize on it while you can.
Yeah, I mean that was kind of the reason behind it, and it's proven to just not have been a real reason.
So one of the things I love that you mentioned though is that like turning it off and turning it back on. Because I had a buddy I worked with. This was a couple of years ago, who did like 10,000 pieces of mail, pulled 6 deals out of it, and was then like, okay, I've got to stop everything because I'm out of cash. And I've posted about it before of like, dude, if instead you'd taken that opportunity as, okay, I need to go raise private money and I need to network more, you'd be so much better off. One other thing I want to make sure people caught that you mentioned, you have a full-time job. You're still active duty in the Marines, correct?
I am.
Okay. And you're like
6 months
in a bunker where you don't have cell service and can't really act. And this isn't your typical, like you can browse the news and Facebook during your day job thing.
I can't even log into Gmail.
Can't even get into Gmail.
It's blocked. I can't access most of the websites I would want to. Yeah.
So then on the flip side of that, because I want to make sure people caught this. You're in California. Your market is a couple thousand miles away in Missouri. So for anybody that's watching this, that's like, well, I have a day job or I can't drive to my market every day. it's kind of one of those like, how bad do you want this thing? Or are you just making excuses? Because I think you're kind of the perfect example of like, there's not really a more demanding or strict day job or career than being a Marine. And then on the flip side of that, you're also investing out of state in a different time zone and all that good stuff as well.
Yeah, and on top of not to like that's gonna
Oh,
sound like
toot
I'm
that
tooting my
horn.
own. Yeah, so on top of that, I'm building an entire other business. Like the real estate is more what I funnel my money into from the built business that I'm building. So I'm still recording 2 podcasts a week. I'm still recording 5, 6 YouTube videos a week. I'm in the middle of recording an audiobook for 2 hours every night. Like it's like it's not like I get off work and then I'm like, okay, I got 4 hours to follow up on leads. It's like I get off work and I got 4 hours to do a whole bunch of other stuff, go to bed at 10 or 11. I'm up at 4:30 the next day. And then 4:30 in the morning is still too early to follow up on leads. So it's like, I can't even respond to these people right now if I want to, because I actually did that on accident the other day. I texted someone and it was like 10:45 their time. And the guy was like, I would have if you didn't text me this late. Don't call me again. And he had told me like 6 hours prior, he'd been like, yeah, hit me up as soon as you get off work. I'm interested. And then I texted him and he was like, basically like, screw you, this is too late. And legitimately has not responded since. So I essentially lost a deal because of how late I got off work and
When I was
responded to this
in
guy.
Indianapolis, I had a seller that I texted to follow up at 8 a.m. Right? I was like, 8 a.m.
Yeah.
business is open.
Yeah.
Forgot that the guy was an out of state owner in Oregon. So he got my text at 5 a.m. And his response was like, oh, what the hell? Like, why are you waking me up? And it was like, okay, can I buy your duplexes though? What are we doing here?
I don't fundamentally understand that though. Like if I'm ringing your phone a bunch, got it. But a text message, like, bro, silence your phone. Or just don't look at the text message. Like, let's be real here. I get texts all the time and I ignore them.
I mean, if you've
Yeah.
got even a recent smartphone, it do not disturbs for you.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Anyway.
what advice do you have for anybody that's because I think in the real estate investing space, most investors right now are wanting to find deals, wanting to find flips, they're wanting to find buy and hold opportunities or short-term rental opportunities, whatever it is they're hunting for, but their realtor's not bringing it to them. The wholesalers are not sending them deals that make sense. Like, what advice do you have for somebody who's kind of in that, like, they haven't tried going to find their own deals before?
Yeah, so I actually just they haven't posted yet, but I just recorded 2 different videos on like real estate strategy for 2021 and real estate market for 2021, kind of like what I'm doing. And in both of them, I talk about finding off-market deals because I'm, let's just say that I don't think the market's going to crash. If we're going to get into all, we don't need to get into all that craziness, right? But
I
it
mean,
is
I
it is
agree with you though. Like, especially with Biden dropping the first-time homebuyer tax credit at twice the rate Obama did, cashable immediately at closing. Not to mention, Mark Ferguson, actually, I'll link to it in the comments, did an incredible video and his thoughts on the real estate market, which was kind of like why I haven't done one, because it was spot on, where he goes through the price of real estate in other developed nations versus how cheap it is here in the US. And it's like, people here are like, oh, it's overpriced. And it's like, you should look at what's going on globally, and you might not have that same view.
interesting. I'll have to check that out. I yeah, I kind of got to a point where I was like, even if the market dips, right? If you're getting a house for 70% all in, who cares? I got a 30% market buffer before I'm even at break even. So that's kind of where I've been saying about the real estate market is like you got to find your own deals. So I mean, it's still possible to find deals that make sense in the Midwest on the MLS, if you are willing to pay for a 1% property, which is,
A little thinner than
fine.
I want.
Yeah, I mean it works, right? But if you want to be able to get into a property for nothing, I mean for low enough that you're like, wow, I can't believe
What a
I mean,
steal.
and it's crazy too because like the negotiations on it really aren't hard usually. Like the one that I got for 50 right now. The I love this. The guy, I text him, we talk on the phone, and then I send my guy over there, and then I text him the next day and I say, hey, I saw the pictures of the house. I can't remember off the top of my head, kind of what were you thinking on the house? Because I always make them name their price first. He's like, oh, well, my real estate agent friend said that I could probably list it for 65, but make me an offer. And I was like, 50. And he was like, okay. I'm like,
Was that all through text?
yeah, we were literally just texting this because I was working, so I couldn't get a hold of him or whatever. And he's like, yeah, okay. And then I'm like, really? Like, you just told me the house was worth 65 as is, and you're all right. Well, okay. And so yeah, I locked it in, and I'm either gonna wholesale it for 65 or for 70. I think I could probably wholesale at 70, 75, which is a little thinner than I want, but whatever. But that's the one I'm probably going to put like 15,000 into a kitchen and a bathroom and list for like 105. So, but it's just funny. It's like people don't. And then one of them was, so I actually landed, there's another deal that I didn't even talk about because it's like through my roommate stuff. I was kind of texting on a platform he uses just to screw around. And this guy was like, oh, I don't have a house I want to sell, but I know this lady who's got a house. She was thinking about selling to me for 12 grand. I'm just too busy. And I'm like, you want to introduce me? And sure enough, like we got a house for $12,000 off it. So it's really strange to me how, like, I always had it in my head that off market, like it was going to be kind of awkward. You're going to have to like really sell people. There's a lot of people out there that just don't want their like you are basically like, hey, do you want to sell me their property? And they're like, please take this thing. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, we're helping. Yeah, we're totally helping you out. This feels, and it's anyway. I guess my advice for other people would be get out there and do it, right? Like find a way to, I mean, if you don't have the money to do like 3,000 direct mails at once, maybe if you're in your market, you could do the old Thack Win and knock on some doors. Or you can do the driving for dollars. I am personally a huge fan at this point of send the mailers, let call porter answer the phone. So I'm only talking to people who are actually interested in talking to me. And I don't have the time to do anything else. And I would tell myself 2 years ago, I was driving for dollars in Hawaii and we found one deal, but it wasn't even that great of a deal. And if I could go back to that 2 years ago, I would tell myself I'm an idiot. Just pay the $1,000 a month for like real marketing and send out $2,000 or $3,000 a month worth of mailers. And you're going to, I mean, incredibly just make so much more money doing that and not spending hours. I mean, we were spending like 6 hours every Saturday driving around, looking at houses, knocking on houses for like nothing. Right. Yeah. And now I'm spending, I think it takes me 5 minutes to drive to the post office and drop a box of mailers in the mail. So maybe 15 minutes on a weekend. And then I've got, I'll sit there and I'll get 2 or 3 phone calls the next week. And so each of those is 10 to 15 minutes. And I've got, it's like maybe an hour or two a week if I'm not doing the lead stuff too much. And it's actually been kind of mind blowing how little work.
Hour or two a week. And in 3 months, you've made $40,000-$50,000. I mean, it's as far as like a side hustle goes. If you're looking to pull in some extra capital in 2021, that's not terrible. I do want to like devil's advocate something you threw out, because I think some of the people watching this will be like, well, I've tried it and people weren't just like giving me their houses. I think a lot of people like kind of that like buffer of the realtor that's kind of mediating, and like you just tell them what they want to pay and they've got to sell it and all that. But that piece really isn't all that difficult. And a lot of the people who sell me houses, it's I've done a video before on like, you're not looking for motivated sellers or desperate people. A lot of the folks who sell to me, you're just looking for like the easy out. I've had sellers be like, I have an appraisal in hand. I know your offer is $50,000 less, but I just don't want to deal with it. Or I don't want people in my house, or, tenants in there and they haven't paid. Or we do like a lot of good cop, bad cop of like, yeah, my brother's in there and he's a deadbeat. So if you buy the house, then I don't have to kick him out and you guys can kick him. Like, great, I'll kick your brother out. Right. So they're not necessarily going to be like lay downs. You're going to have to do some follow-up, but I'm never like, I think a lot of people are under the impression that they've got to like trick people into selling them, or it's this very like suave, slick process where they're going to like accidentally give you a discount. Our approach is like, hey, in order to get your house to where I want it to be, it's going to cost me this much. You mentioned you'd like this, knowing that it's going to cost me that. How do you feel about it? They'll normally, well, I've got a buddy who can do it for less. Our like canned reply is like, hey, your buddy you're going to pay a natty light might do it that cheaply for you, but he's not going to give me that hookup. In order for me to get it where I need it for my guys, here's where I'm at. What can you do? And, you know, I think people will be surprised in the fact that they'll typically not be where I want. They'll tell me no. I come up a grand or two, they drop 10 or 20. I come up a grand or two on the next phone call, they drop 10 or 20. And it's even still the kind of deals David's mentioned here, like is absolutely worth that couple hours a week for the return you're going to get on them. I mean, that one rental you mentioned, you're getting twice the return. You would be getting twice the return as the guy who's buying it on the MLS because he's paying twice as much for it. Anything else you've got here in closing, man?
I was just going to laugh and say that the one that was 28 or whatever was actually one of those kind of good cop, bad cop situations where he didn't want the property anymore, but he knew the tenant's son and felt bad telling them he was selling the place because they've lived there for like 23 years. And so I had my real estate agent had to go it actually worked out perfectly. My real estate agent's dad is an insurance agent. So he borrowed one of his dad's insurance like shirts and pretended he was an insurance agent when walking through taking pictures and for a appraisal readjustment anyway. But yeah, he pretended he was someone else, whatever. And now it's kind of a weird situation because I'm trying to keep the tenant in there for the new buyer, and so it's like, yeah, I've got to get my team through there again. But
the insurance
they have no
guy
idea.
is going to be wearing a construction hat this time.
But yeah, this guy didn't even tell him he sold. I asked him, I'm like, do they know that you sold? He's like, yeah, they know. And then I called the tenant. He's like, he said he was thinking about it. I'm like, oh, I've owned it for a week now. Well, oh well. But anyway, whatever. You know, they don't care. They're really nice, and you know, so we're gonna try to keep them in there. But
awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would just say in closing, like, don't get in your own way. If you don't have the time, then that like me, that was my reason, right? Like that's not an excuse not to try to find your own deals. It's an excuse to find systems to plug into so that you can afford to find deals without having the time requirement. You in life, right? You either gotta work your butt off and do all the time thing, or you gotta pay a little bit of money to not have to do all the time thing. And I'm at a point in my life where I will gladly throw some money at a problem to save the time if I'm getting the same return.
Absolutely. So for anybody who's watching this, we'll link to all the kind of the resources that David's mentioned below. And then I also want to highlight for any of you guys watching this, any like questions or concerns or fears you have about going direct to seller. One of the reasons I love doing stuff with David is we're both the same, and that the reason we're on social media is to engage with you guys. It's not this like, oh, I'm just going to not reply to any comments because I'm that cool. Like it's so as you start this process, you have both of us in your corner at no cost. Like I'm not trying to push you into my mastermind. David's not trying to push you into his. If you honestly, I think both of us are looking to grow our YouTube channels. So if you want like our expert advice one-on-one for free as you're going through this process, just comment your questions on our stuff and we will answer it. You know, it's not my first deal. I asked every dumb question you can imagine on Bigger Pockets. I've got it under contract. What do I do now? Who does earnest money deposit go to? The seller gave me earnest money deposit in cash. Am I allowed to spend this, or how does this, like every dumb question you can think of, I asked, and we're willing to be that resource for you guys, judgment free. David, for the folks watching this, where can they get in touch with you? Where can they learn more about you? Where do you want me to send them?
Well, first off, if you're still watching this, make sure you smash that like button for Ryan and subscribe to his YouTube channel. Because, but you got to like point down in the corner where the little button is, right? If you Google From Military to Millionaire or Military Millionaire, I'll pop up. So I'm around on Facebook. If you want to reach out to me, either commenting on YouTube or messaging me on Instagram is probably the best way to actually get a hold of me. But those are Facebook, Instagram, whatever, Military Millionaire. I'll pop up.
Awesome, man. As always, dude, it's a pleasure hanging out with you. This video is going to be long by the time we throw it up, but I don't care because I think it's good content that's helpful for people if they'll just take the action and apply it.
I hope it helps.
Yeah. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll do it again soon.
Absolutely, brother. Thanks for having me on.
Anytime.